Am I the only one who's over here like dancing every time I hear the intro music?
Oh no,
yeah.
I'm like slow twerking over here. It's great.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I imagined you doing. So
Thank
I kind of, that's why I asked. I just wanted to confirm my intuition was correct. Hello, everyone. Happy January 22nd, Salima. Welcome to another fantastic and life-changing live stream here with me, Nikki, and Friar. And today we have a very special guest, Ola Wolny. She's going to spill all of her secrets of her life in general and basically answer all of our questions. Be sure to pop any and all questions, comments, criticisms, whatever you got over there, definitely pop them into the chat. We're here to serve you on some level. So don't be a stranger. Let's see here. We're going to run through some introductions real quick with me and my wonderful co-host. And then we're going to start picking Ola's brain and get all of her information out of here as much as we possibly can. So if you guys don't know, my name is Abby Quinn. I am an ancient astrologer. I'm not personally ancient, but I do ancient astrology. I specialize in Sumerian astrology. If you go to my website, you can learn ancient astrology. You can also learn the Sumerian language. I have what is probably at this point the most comprehensive Sumerian language course outside of a university. So, and it's more fun because they're short little lessons and it's definitely pretty cool. And obviously, I never tell anybody, you guys. I figure everybody assumes like, that I do astrology readings, but you can get those on my website too. I never talk about that. I have like some different courses and stuff. Yeah. So anyways, all my contact information's in the video description. And with that, Nikki, why don't you jump in here and save me?
All right. Well, I'm Nikki. I'm with Revolution Astrology. You can email me. My information's down below. And I do natal chart readings. Haven't quite moved into other readings yet. I really like what I do. So I really like helping people figure it all out. That's my jam. So yeah. That's what I got going on.
Blowing people's minds, making people cry hysterically because you've tuned into them on such a deep level. Yes.
Yeah, gazillion emails. It's great. I like that. How do you know this? Yes. That's my favorite. So yeah.
Friar, how about you?
Hey, I'm Friar. I'm gonna give a little more to Nikki here, just to say, I talked to Nikki, behind the scenes, and really like. Astrology is like a second language with her. Like she will be talking about anything and she'll talk about it in astrological terms. Like it really is something that she lives and breathes. So people, be aware that she's the real deal. Okay.
Agreed.
So, yeah. Don't tell me anything about your life because I'm going to totally tie the transits into it and we're going to be talking forever about it.
I can vouch for that. Me, I am just a student of mysteries, but I have a blog, WordPress site where pretty much all my stuff lives. I write stuff and I also offer services for folks, which I really do enjoy. Like my client time is the best time of my day, my month, my life. It really is good. I'm seeing transformation with my students, or I'm sorry, my clients rather. So it's bigger than I ever thought it would be in terms of the experience of the sessions that I do. If you're interested in such sessions yourself, then please, by all means, contact me. You can use friarpezzle@gmail.com, or you can use the contact form on my site at friarpezzle.wordpress.com. And you can, of course, click around and learn about my services. And I must mention, of course, the discount. Now, I offered a really big discount last year. Big, fat discount. So I'm still offering a pretty good discount till the equinox. And that will be U225. So if you write to me and just say U225, you can misspell it. I don't care. You have to deal with the anger of the gods yourself there, but I don't mind. So yeah, write me to say U225. You get 25% off of one-on-ones or deep listening. Either one is fine. And I welcome you. Please contact me. Thank you very much.
Do it. We double dog dare you. Do it.
That's right.
Do it. Go for it. All right. Well, Ola, I had many people email me after we started doing the live streams. A lot of people contacted me. Are like, you have to get her on. I'm like, well, I don't know. We're not very cool. I'm not sure if she's like too cool for us. We might not be able to get her on. But I will definitely reach out to her. And you were kind enough to schedule with us, and we're so glad to have you on. I know some things about you, but you are a complex figure. You have many ideas. You do a ton of different things. You have a wide swath of knowledge. There are some things, like, obviously I'd like to focus today more on the astrology, but I know you do like feminine alchemy. You're familiar with a lot of the esoteric and hermetic texts and stuff. I don't know if you know, Friar Pezzle is our resident esoteric scholar. So hopefully he'll have some cool questions and stuff for you, open you up a little bit for our audience. But why don't you tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and kind of how you got on this path, if you're willing to do that.
Sure. Well, first of all, welcome everybody, and thank you so much for having me on. I must say I'm still kind of trying to get over the initial thing that you said, which is that I'll be revealing all my secrets. I think that everyone sees immediately. So
no, you don't have to do that. No, that's not a requirement.
No. Sarcasm. Sorry.
Let's not try to bore them immediately.
Yes.
I by background engineer from oil and gas, 15 years of excitement, onshore, offshore, a little bit. So kind of coming in with very much a scientific / kind of engineering mind, scientific scrutiny on everything, and bridging between the esoteric and spiritual. And I probably imagine that the reason why some people might have been interested in having me over is because I have pretty different approach to astrology, numerology, and all, as I call them, codes of the matrix. It doesn't really matter what it is, codes of the matrix. So different perspective, or should we say deciphering what are we truly dealing with. Yes, I also work with feminine alchemy, which is probably going to be misunderstood unless I actually go slightly into it. Which is this is not any kind of esoteric concept. I'm very far from it. There's too much new age everywhere. But very much on the tradition, oral tradition, feminine wisdom, past, whether that's the native people, the indigenous ethnic groups that still had access or still have access to certain knowledge, which is perhaps not so common. We all know that the ancient texts and most of the teachings, they are they've been tampered with. They serve a certain narrative. They serve certain groups. As I call them, what's leftovers of the gods here on Earth. So that's pretty much when I kind of connected the dots on certain things. Then you cannot go back. Once you go down there, you cannot go back. So that became my life, and I left oil and gas somewhere on the way there, and now I am pretty much fully into it, into reconnecting people with themselves, helping them overcome their matrix programming, conditioning, which is precisely what astrology, numerology tells you, how you are programmed and conditioned. So that's what I do through both selfmasteryquest.com and through Mystical Arctic Journeys, which is where I take people over here to Norway, where I live, where I am specifically the Arctic, and we go deep into these teachings, and bringing people back to themselves.
Oh, you know what? I recently just learned that it's a number 9 year. Oh my God, is that me? Is that my
Possibly.
microphone? Oh,
It's better now. It's better now. Continue.
okay. Yeah, so I don't pay attention to numerology, but I'm always interested in it because I'm always seeing synchronicities. And I'm always like, oh my God, what does 333 mean on my phone? You know, but I recently heard an astrologer say it was a number 9 year. And so it was like a year for endings. Like, do you do that? Do you like look at the year and look at numerology, or like, what's your take?
Well, you know, the whole sort of my whole approach is about exposing astrology, numerology for what it is, which is the matrix code, which is basically, you know, us being predetermined in certain ways, and of course a lot of astrologers talk about free will, but that's because there is not full understanding of how the matrix works. So do I look at numerology and astrology? Surprisingly, no, I don't, because the whole point is to escape the code.
Escape it. Okay, I get it.
Not to fulfill it, not to sort of not, you know, I don't want to be doing what the gods, who are the gods, and of course these gods are not gods, these are the Archons, right? That's the meaning of the word Lord in Greek. So we have a controlled environment down here, which is something that they created very long time ago, and I have absolutely zero interest in fulfilling their plans. I have interest in fulfilling mine. So this is what alchemy is about, feminine alchemy. It is bringing us back to us and our plan, not the plan of the gods. I mean, you got to ask yourself, right? How is it and why is it that, you know, year 9 is supposedly endings, and that's the energy, and that's what we all have to now fall under? Well, I have other plans. I'm actually starting a lot of things. I'm not interested in endings. So there is a way to escape that kind of energy. And I mean, I am aware of certain things out there. I mean, you cannot be, if you work with astrology, numerology, and of course you hear that everywhere. People mention here and there, you know, we are now coming out of the Chinese year of the dragon. Now we're going to be entering the year of the pig. No, not year of the pig, of the opposite. The pig is going to actually have a bad time, allegedly, in there.
It's year of the snake, right?
Exactly, it's year of the snake. So now everybody's getting excited because it's the snake and the 9. So it's an interesting combination. But that's the whole point. That, you know, I don't want to be fulfilling someone else's plan. I don't want to be fulfilling what the gods have orchestrated for me and for others. That's the whole point of my work, to show how we have been caught into this net and how to escape it, not how to fulfill it for them.
Oh my God.
I have so
go
many
ahead.
questions.
Sorry.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I have so many questions. Okay, so how did you come to this idea, belief, perception, or whatever, like, you know, formulate this idea that astrology is a part of the matrix and like it's designed to kind of lock you into something? I'm not big on, I can't vouch for numerology. That's not really my thing. So I kind of think it's mostly based on a fake, just an arbitrary calendrical system. So like I don't really get into that, so I can't speak to it. But as far as astrology goes, like how did you get to that point or that belief?
I mean, it's really no difference whether it's numerology, astrology. All of this is the same. Everything is based on symbols, mathematics. Everything is based. The principles are the same. Whether that's a numerology from your name, whether that's astrology, whether that's any other system, anything that in any way determines something about you and for you is clearly designed in a. So I'm not saying that it is astrology that locks you in. I'm saying that astrology is the language. It is the way to sort of open up and have a look in what way you have been captured by what? Well, by this matrix, by this construct that we have been, that we are in. And so how did I sort of put all that together? Well, a long time ago, when I was still sort of looking into different systems and exploring, like I say, both, not just astrology, but going way beyond. And the fact that there is so much information that you can find about yourself or other people without obviously knowing them, right? So clearly there is an element of things being fixed. But we're talking about free will. So which one is it? So things did not make sense to me from the beginning. And I didn't really see it as a benevolent thing. You know, people saying, oh, I'm a Gemini, I'm a Libra, I'm a 7, I'm a 4. Well, you're a human. You're not a number and you're not a star sign. You're a person. So why is it that, you know, there are all these characteristics that kind of seem to be common and seem to be sort of repeating themselves, right? You are able, and you know that very well because all of you are working with astrology. We are able to say things about people. We're able to decipher things about their childhood, things about whatever is their purpose, illnesses even, right? Medical astrology, it goes very, very deep. But why? And you know, I never saw the whole mechanism of those things being locked into some kind of algorithm as benevolent. I could see very clearly and very early that I shouldn't need to wait for a specific window to do certain things, because at that time there is a energy that supports it, but you know, on the way I need to wait, or perhaps this is not a good sign for this or that because the energies are sort of against me, and there is a certain flavor to whether that's a year or whether that's a month. I was never feeling it as a I'm not buying it that's a benevolent thing, because I want to decide for myself and I don't want to be constrained by some kind of predecided circumstances. So why is it like that? And of course, as you are going deeper into these teachings and then bring in, because you know, this is part of the awakening, right? I mean, you cannot be dealing with these things unless you are aware of the sort of higher and wider context, which is we are caught. I mean, what are the Sumerian texts talking about? What is every mythology talking about? What is really smuggled, as I say, in fairy tales, because there's been a censorship. This is not the first time we have censorship, right? So what is the true story? What is the Bible really talking about? Is that a religious text? No, it's not. It is a story. It's an account of something. And when you know how to start deciphering that, and you start seeing consistently across the board, regardless of geography, the same story emerging, a story where once upon a time something happened here and it has to do with control over this realm, then everything comes together. And then you see how astrology, numerology are just languages. This is just a way to interpret something that's pretty malevolent, pretty evil, a way to capture human, a way to control human, a way to siphon energy from humans. I mean, that's just connecting the dots. You know, when you once you kind of see that full picture, then it's you cannot unsee it.
I have never picked up any of the malevolence that you're referring to. I don't discount any of your experience or anything as far as that goes. I understand. So the big push towards, like, the original, as far back as I can go, the original push towards this idea that the gods, in particular, like the Mesopotamian or Sumerian gods, are agents of control, or creating, like, orchestrating some sort of control mechanism, really evolved from Zecharia Sitchin. Most people say Zechariah Sitchin, but it's more Zecharia Sitchin. His knowledge of the Sumerian texts was exceptionally poor. He really picks and he cherry picks from all over, like Jewish mythology, like everything. I mean, he's got his hand in everything. His knowledge of the Sumerian language was really pretty poor. Now, I definitely know for a fact that the scholarly interpretations are manipulated. But they're manipulated more so to strip away the spiritual aspects that are inherent in the elder myths and texts. Now, that's just, as far as I have seen. I think I have an explanation as far as astrology goes. Not that I'm trying to dissuade you from your observations or anything like that, but in my experience, astrology, so when you have somebody whose life is phenomenal, okay, they're listening to their intuition, they're doing everything right, they're making good decisions, they're tuned into themselves, they've done their deeper inner work. What you find when you look at that individual is that it lines up almost identically with what's going on with the sky and the transits. It's not so much that the sky is affecting someone. These are just natural energies. So going back to what you said, no, you shouldn't have to wait for a certain time to do anything that you don't want to. But at the same time, do we want to go out on a picnic when it's pouring rain, or like today here, it's like minus 15 or something and the wind is just rocking? So it's more, and I think Nikki would probably agree, and not every astrologer, because we're definitely in a small minority of what we use astrology for and our take on it. I would imagine Friar's probably on board with that too. But we're looking at it more as like, these are just the natural currents that are flowing very much. I watched some of your interviews. You were talking about the aurora and, how like tuning into that, and we're a part of the earth and we're a part of the sun. It's very similar. And again, I think I speak a little bit for Nikki along the same lines, like the planets, the energies of the constellations, the solar system, we're a part of these, and these are just macrocosmic aspects of ourselves. So when you work and move and act in time with these things, whether you're conscious of it or not, if you listen to your intuition, it almost always just lines up perfectly with what's going on in your natal chart, what's going on with the transits. When you look at somebody who's like at war with themselves constantly, their relationship sucks, they hate their job, they're falling apart. If you look at the sky, or you look at their natal chart, you'll notice that they're doing things that are in direct conflict with what the chart says. Now, I'm of the opinion that the astrology is there as a tool to serve us. It's not there to control us. It has really no clear, I don't know that it's capable of controlling anybody. It's just like a natural fluid current that you're riding with. And if you want to work with it, you can. If you don't want to, I've thousands of charts and clients at this point, like people like legit struggle. And if they tweak those things that are available in their chart, they just don't have those same issues anymore. So I don't see it as it's a new concept to me, to be quite honest. But don't be offended. I don't get out much, you guys. I had the day off today. What did I do? I dissected another Sumerian text. So I'm a super dork and I don't know anything that's going on outside of my immediate space. So that's kind of my take on it. Nikki, would you agree to that? Or do you have
I totally agree with that. I don't use it in the tropical sense at all. Okay. So I totally am on oh my God, it's so funny because I too am fuck the system. All right. I have been born that way. I don't follow the fucking rules, and I don't like when people tell me what to do. And I have lived my life as if I am not going to follow this pattern. I am not going to do this or that. And and that's what led me to my path to astrology, was that utter rebellion of, I'm in charge of my life. I get to do what I want. I have free will. And I'm going to not fucking do what I know I'm here to do. And I'm going to follow this path instead. And I was just literally fucking squished and redirected. So And looking at the transits and looking at the energies before I even knew what the hell astrology was really doing, and seeing it for myself and experiencing it, I just yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm totally with you. Like, I don't want to fucking do, like, I don't want to do what I'm here to do. You know, I want to have fun. I want to do whatever I want to do. Like, if you're up to me, I'd be doing like celebrity hair and makeup right now. I'd be flying around. I'd be, you know, I wouldn't have a family. I wouldn't have shit like that. I'd be chasing that dollar. You know, it just wasn't in the cards. And it was a really tough, like, hard, wicked lesson to learn. Like, when you try to swim against the current, like, you drowned. So.
And would you say that your natal chart and understanding like the transits and stuff, how they actually affect you, not just like what pop culture bullshit astrology says? Like, do you think that helped you in that process?
Oh, absolutely. And it didn't start out that way, you know, like tropical astrology, I knew was fake. I'd spent 15 plus years interviewing people behind the chair as a hairstylist, talking to everybody. I knew it wasn't right. It was like, something's not right. If I'm interviewing all of these people and I'm asking them all these, I know their birthdays, I know their family, something's off. And of course, that's, you know, when it hit me when I was like sick and you know, smashed into a million little pieces, you know, to Google it. I ended up finding like a whole bunch of different stuff. It was awesome. But yeah, that was my journey and the beginning of, you know, the real sky astrology journey for me, because that's what was really speaking to me. That's what was really happening. I'm looking at the real sky where the transits are really happening in real constellations. I can see it. I can feel it. Now I know. For me, it was more like an epiphany, an awakening, and a lot of my clients have told me that too. Like, oh my God, thank you for showing me like what my emotional patterns look like, what I'm doing, and just showing them like, hey, this is the path of least resistance. And how they choose to take on that path is their free will. You know, they can choose to do whatever they want with it, but they're always going to be redirected back. And I noticed that. Personally, I'm a super like spiritual, weird, mediumistic person. And I'm totally like, I was totally on board with that. Like, I've been forced to be here. I would have never have, trust me, if you've been on any of our calls, like our Sunday calls, I will bitch about God all fucking day long. I'll be like, God did this to me. Oh yeah, that's right. I did this. I chose this. Having these fucking like crazy tug of war, you know, combos. And like, I want to understand it all too. And why is my experience different from other people's experiences? And so yeah, I'm just rambling now, but I mean, it's been it's been a journey for me that has done the absolute opposite. It's just shown me how real and raw and incredible the real sky astrology is. So like, yeah, if you're talking about tropical and somebody's been feeding you like that tropical bullshit, if you saw my tropical chart, you would be like, you're not that person. It's just insane. And it's not really about telling somebody who they are. A lot of people do need a little guidance, like they're lost, they get caught in all the different themes and different stories, like, oh, my mom feels like this about me and I must be like this, or my partner doesn't like me, so I must be like this. You know, like there's women who get cheated on all the time. You're like, am I fucking side chick energy? What the fuck? You know, like there's a counseling part of astrology, not like I control you, I'm from the gods and I'm here to make your life fucking hell. Like, I don't know. I mean, I've experienced it on both extremes. So it's hard to say, you know, how it would be for each individual person. But for me, I mean, astrology has become almost my religion. So
Friar, where are you on that spectrum? I know your concept of astrology is not similar. I mean, there's some overlap with me and Nikki, but you have a different take on it.
He does, yeah.
I'd love to hear it.
I'm almost certainly on the spectrum.
Stop.
See, that was a joke. Sorry.
I know. We put you on the spot. We're like, now you tell
No,
us.
no.
Exactly.
I have things to say. Well, first of all, I guess just in general, if you were to look at just the meta model under which I operate, I'm almost in complete agreement with what Ola said. Because so the milieus that I operate in are, generally speaking, like the Golden Dawn and to some extent Vedanta. And for me, they do merge. The Golden Dawn in particular is a type of Gnosticism, sort of a soft Gnosticism. Now, there's different types of Gnosticism, right? You got Valentinian and Sethian, like, and the difference, it boils down to the Sethians believe that the forces of the universe are intentionally evil, and the Valentinians would say that they're not willful. They don't know that they think they're doing you good. Like they're just deluded, right? Now, I happened to go to Ike Baker's talk. I guess it was a couple of weeks ago now. He was doing a lecture from the Golden Dawn Temple in Asheville, and it was really great. And he was talking about the differences between the outer and the inner order, which is something I'd been thinking about before. So it was interesting to me. In the outer order, you learn about the magic that is done to you. And by this, and if we look at astrology under that rubric, it would be like, okay, well, let's learn how the celestial influences affect us, right? That's the outer order teachings. You're basically just learning Mars and Venus and Taurus, and you learn about the energies associated with them and how they affect you. But the inner order is where you turn that around and you realize that these energies are available to you to use, and that you no longer have to be affected by external forces. You actually can now direct them internally. That's what the inner order is about. Now, I can also talk about Kabbalah, which I tend to do. Lucky you guys, you're so fortunate.
We are.
One of the important things about the Sephirot on the Tree of Life is that we're meant to contact them and correct them, the tikkun process. So you would work your way up 4 different trees of life: the earth tree, the air tree, the water tree, and the fire tree, and you would deal with all these aspects of yourself, and you are meant to correct them, which implies very heavily that they require correction. So again, me using somewhat different language and different methodologies, but if I was going to say it in one big fat controversial sentence, the matrix is you. The thing that you need to overcome, this matrix that people like to talk about so very much, really it's you. You're basically learning yourself, and you are making corrections. How you do that, there's lots of different methodologies, including Advaita Vedanta, believe it or not. Coming to the witness consciousness means to observe these things as sort of false to you, right? And these things are a type, they're part of Maya, right? So if you're overcoming Maya, in a way you're overcoming the matrix. And I realize I am mixing metaphors like nobody's business.
No, I think those probably excuse me. I think matrix I think implies like control, whereas Maya
Right.
I think is it's just there. But I can see where those two things would be,
similar. Yeah, they have some overlap. And so again, part of the, and I call the Golden Dawn soft Gnosticism because they're not really hammering it in your face with all the like supreme, like all the systems and terminology of Sethian or Valentinian. I don't know whether they're Sethian or Valentinian actually. Meaning, are these energies literally out to get you, or are they just deluded and think they're the true gods, whereas the actual true God is the one, the the Most High, the witness consciousness, I suppose, or Shiva. Different ways of looking at like the true God, and then the rest would be false gods. And I know that's kind of extreme language, and it paints a little harsh picture, but that's the sort of the Gnostic backbone that underpins a lot of the esoteric traditions is Mars, Taurus, Scorpio. These are influences, and they behave like gods, but they are not the real truth.
Okay, so that's where we come back to, we do full circle with Ola, where
Yeah.
it's not the truth, it's the matrix system. Okay.
Well, I actually, if I may, I would like to go back to Nikki and ask you a question, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I understood you correctly, you said that if you could do what your passion is, what you want, or at some point that's what you were kind of looking at.
I physically can. Yeah, trust me, girlfriend. I tried. I physically could not.
That's where my question is coming from. If these are your passions, if these are the things that you want to do, but you actually use the term that doing that, you would be going against the current, and you were kind of pushed into doing something else. Where is the free will in that? And why are you not able to do what your passions and what your love is? How is that?
I know, exactly. I've asked myself those questions all the time.
But you see, this is precisely the premise of what I've been advocating for.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I'm so much happier now. Like, my heart is really aligned with where I need to be and what I need to do. And when I look back, what I was doing was killing me. It was physically killing me, mentally killing me. I couldn't give any more to anybody at all. Like, my physical health declined so bad that I couldn't walk. I was walking with a cane. I couldn't grab things. I couldn't shop. I couldn't get off the couch. And I was like that for almost 6 months. I had shoulders issues. I've had the big shots in my shoulders. I've seen rheumatologists. Every doctor you can imagine that had no idea what was wrong with me, just fibromyalgia. That's what they just say when, they don't know what it is that's wrong with you. And I had to really do some deep inner work. Like, am I storing rage and anger inside my body? Oh, yeah. I mean, just because at that time, that's what I really wanted. And I thought that that's what I could really get. The entire time, it was just an illusion, this delusional thing that wasn't really real. And it wasn't until after it was all done and over with, I look back and I'm like, oh, I mean, I get it now. But it's only because I'm totally aligned with where I'm going and what I'm doing. And I'm free. I feel so much freer and happier. And I think about all the times that I was doing hair and all this, all the bitches I had to work with. I had to work with some fucking horrible women that just hated me. They just hated me. They hated my success. They hated the way I looked. They hated the way I talked. They hated how happy I was. I just, it was a pleasure to actually leave that industry. But at the time it wasn't, because that's how I made money, and money was my motivation. And money is no longer my motivation for happiness. So I think people change, people grow, things change. Because trust me, girlfriend, I did everything in my power to stay in that position forever. I wanted to keep making money. I wanted to travel. I wanted to do so many things, become independent, actually become an independent person. And yeah, the tide just did not roll that way for me. It just did not. And where these illnesses came from, where all of it came from, was just, a lot of emotion, a lot of feelings, a lot of stuff I stuffed deep down because I wasn't paying attention to what was really going on. It was all about me and what I wanted and what I could do for my family. And yeah, I mean, it was difficult. It was a really difficult and awful time in my life. And I seriously considered suicide a lot. And I was like, well, it's like over. It's over. And it wasn't over, obviously, because I made
Yeah.
it, you know. I made it through some of the darkest shit of my life. And trust me, I wanted that. I wanted to make money like that the rest of my life. Because when you start making big, you know, hairstylist money, you're an artist, people respect you. You're respected where you go. You're teaching it. You know, people like to hear your voice. You know, they like to hear you talk. They want you around. Like, of course, like I'm gonna chase that. I'm totally gonna chase that. You know, it fed my ego a lot, made me feel good. But yeah, I mean, I trust me, I would have kept going in that path, and would it have been the right path? I mean, my chart reflects it. Yeah, absolutely. My chart reflects me being in like the beauty industry, or, you know, wanting to, you know, do something with the health and beauty industry. So, I mean, that's valid. And, you know, how I pursue it and how I do it now is just change directions. It's more Ayurvedic, more holistic, and definitely a lot more spiritual. Definitely paying attention to the patterns, to what's going on around me, you know, instead of just being in my own little bubble, which I am. I love being in my own
I am
little
too.
bubble.
I'm always in the bubble.
Yeah.
Always in the bubble.
Yeah.
Abby,
But I don't know.
am-
I hope that answered your question,
Yes.
because I trust me, I fucking definitely am one of those people. Definitely. I'm gonna fucking do that again. Definitely one of those people that will be like, fuck authority. God doesn't tell me what to do. I'm gonna go fucking do what I want. And I was really readjusted. So yeah, I
By
tried
what?
it. Illness. I mean, mystery illness. Just what?
Where did
I
that
don't know
come
what it
from?
was. I don't really know. I mean, it was a slow decline. It just became this slow decline. And before, boom, it was over. I had to close my business, close my practice, say sayonara to all of the clients I've seen for years and years that supported me. And they were like family to me. And just start over. So, and start something new, start something where I didn't have to be physically active to do it. I didn't have to be physically touching somebody, physically in their presence in order to help them and counsel them and just make them feel better. I mean, I counseled a lot of people behind the chair, and I heard a lot of stories that will just break your heart. You know, people that have been through things that they're very, very ashamed of. And that was another reason why I really wanted to be in that industry and stay there, because of the people that I made these connections with. They could sit down and they could just literally, it's a counseling session. They'd sit there for 2 hours if they're getting their hair colored, or an hour if they're getting their hair cut, and just dump everything on me. And it was definitely like helping them sort it out, helping them situate, and sometimes not even at all. Sometimes just being there, just being the person that they can like cry on my shoulder. So looking forward, I'm like, I definitely want to do something like that. And I know that there's a holistic way that I can still counsel people that makes sense to everybody, you know. So, you know, I can see where the moon is, I can see where Jupiter is, and when I show people on the sky map and I show them where it is in the sky, they get it. Then they're like, oh. So I mean, there's something very humanistic, very like raw and primal with us and our souls, and we're connected to the ground, we're connected to the sky, we're connected to all of these things. And it's really hard for me now to say, well, you know what, fuck everything, this is the path I'm going to go on now, without having that soul connection. I mean, it's there, it's just not going to ever go away. And I'm pretty happy being realigned and readjusted now. I mean, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, I mean, fuck, even 6 months ago, I would have told you, like, I don't know about this. I don't know. But that, I mean, I'm just one person. I'm just like one experience out of how many millions of other people out there. So I feel like I'm rambling. Somebody stop me.
So
God.
Ola, what would you do? So obviously Nikki and myself and other astrologers, and even to some extent Friar, although he doesn't do astrology in the way that we do, he works with planetary energies and whatnot, if I understand correctly.
Yeah.
But clearly we try to use astrology as a tool for someone to tune into themselves, and it's just a tool to help somebody live a better life. So if I'm understanding correctly, you're of the opinion that it's actually like a cult. It's basically like a false religion, or, it's not good. It's not.
I would totally say that about tropical. I would totally be like, okay,
right.
All right. Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's not, the tropical is not even based on anything. It's just some made up nonsense. But so Ola, what would you do? Like, what are your methods to help somebody come to those same conclusions, or like help somebody get their life on track, or like tune into themselves and find their inner peace, or escape the matrix, or however you want to go about that?
Well, I think that the key is really understanding, and I can't force that onto anyone. The key is understanding the sort of full picture. The key is understanding, and mind you, back to what you said earlier, I've not read Sitchin, so I don't base anything that I'm saying on him. I base it on totally different things. I base it on ancient texts. I base it on legends, oral tradition, native teachings, etc., which are very consistent. It's not. Sitchin might have been playing with the sort of Sumerian mythology, and not even mythology, but obviously the texts, and adding interpretation or interpreting his own way. But the stories are in every geography. It's not just that area. However, the stories are consistent. So we have to stop being naive that this is an accident, that all these different mythologies by different geographies, people just came up with the same story at the same time, because that's just and that was for entertainment, right?
Oh, I would totally agree. It's all connected. Absolutely.
So when and when you when you look at this world, and for example, for the last 4 years, right, with what the Matrix has done with rolling out their plan, advancing their agenda. So who stands behind that agenda? Where is it coming from? Why have we been pretty much controlled and manipulated and maneuvered into certain things for such a long time? And can
I ask who you think is orchestrating that then? So who's controlling? Who's the head control?
Well, that's back to what we're talking about from the beginning, right? Which is that we have all these different geographies, all these different sort of gods who are not gods. These are beings who once upon a time came here and wanted to take over control, created their own sort of little playground here to siphon our energy. And this is not Sitchin. I mean, this is coming from,
Is this like the Anunnaki even? Is this like the Anunnaki text?
You can call them Anunnaki in that part of the world, and in here where I am, we call them the gods of the Norse mythology, or gods of the Olympus, or God of the Old Testament is one of the gang, right? So it's these are the same beings that once upon a time came here and wanted to we would have to go through the Sumerian tablets as well, and of course then we can talk about interpretation of those, but legends, why our legends? I come from Eastern Europe. Why do we have fairy tales and legends that are consistent with fairy tales and legends, for example, here where I am now, which is the north of Norway? Why the indigenous people their stories, what they believe in, the shamanism behind it. For example, here where I am, but also where I come from, and across the pond, you know, in America or in South America, because we have the Incas, we have the North American Indians, we obviously have India as well, and the stories that, why are they consistent? Well, they are consistent because they are describing the same type of events. They are describing the same story. And as I always say, history has been written by the victors, not by the losers. So the way the history has been shown to us, the way that we have been manipulated about the history is for a certain agenda. So of course these beings are no longer here, but they have been, and we know that because presence of them, you know, texts what they've been manipulated, great. But iconography or artwork throughout, you know, whether that's Egypt, whether that's Mesopotamia, whether that's anywhere else, I mean, that's there. It's literally carved into rocks. So what are these things, right? I mean, you go to Egypt, you know, you've seen the temples. You go to Greece, you go to anywhere, and it's a very consistent type of artwork presented. And when you know the symbology of those things, which is, mind you, I've been really blown away in a way by the level of ridiculous nonsense that is being sold to tourists. For example, in Egypt, when you go to temples, I honestly, I feel like these guides are, they on purpose trying to just tell such absolute nonsense for disinformation so that certain things are just kept quiet.
Can you give us an example? I'm like super fascinated. I would love to hear more.
I mean, honestly, I would have to show you certain things.
Oh, okay.
But for example, I was at one of the temples, and we are looking at carvings at one of the sort of buildings, and there is literally clearly one of the goddesses is holding, or gods is holding a staff. And it's a staff that looks like a tree, right? Like a sort of piece of tree. And when you're into alchemy, you know exactly what you're looking at. And the guy is trying to convince everyone that this is a sword. It is, and then a few centimeters further, there is someone holding a sword, but he would not accept it. So
right.
They are, you know, it's the symbology, for example, of the tree of life. It's the symbology of stuff. It's the symbology of the Ark of Covenant, and all these stories that, you know, Isis, Osiris were just swimming up and down the Nile to see each other. Nonsense. It's the size of these places. It's the fact that in the middle of every temple there is a chamber that doesn't have any windows, and nobody can answer why. When you're into alchemy, you know why. But that's the thing. Certain things have been totally hidden, or maybe they don't even know about that. And sort of this part that we are discussing, it is part of it. So you ask me who is sort of controlling this? Well, who is controlling are the sort of little men that stayed on the ground to and these are the ones that we never see. These are the ones that the names of those are never mentioned, right? So these are not this is not the level of the presidents. This is not the level of Bill Gates and his gang. They are the peasants. We're talking the sort of people who are standing behind. Their names are never mentioned, and they have obviously their
I can tell you who is. I can tell you it's like right there in plain sight. The Roman Catholic Church is basically sitting there lawless with all the information and everything you've ever wanted. There it is, right there.
Yeah, but obviously, I mean, the Vatican, and that's sort of part of it. But there are many secret orders, you know, the Jesuits.
But that's the main part of it, and that's the one that bothers me the most, is because everyone overlooks it. They literally spent lots and lots of years hunting anybody down and killing them. Like the Crusades was a big deal, and we're all just kind of like, yeah, but we all believe in one God now, so that's that. You know, this history. Like, we don't think about it, and we don't think about what they've done to astrology. We think about what they've done to, you know, religious texts, and we think about how they've hidden this and that. But for a very, very, very long time, you weren't allowed to question the church at all. And we find that a lot of the ancient texts were actually astrology. They were talking about the way the stars would interact together. A lot of it was star talk, because that was the normal way of doing things. Your king had an astrologer. He had several astrologers. They were the most important, powerful, men on the planet, because they could tell this king, if he was going to die or if they were going to go to war. I mean, they were important people. They're important things. All of that disappeared with the rise of Christianity. So, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. And I think people, they're the monsters. I mean, we obviously have aliens. I mean, we have alien shit going on. I mean, we have weird stuff in the sky. Is it like projections? Is it like, fake? I mean, I don't know. I can't tell you. I've never seen aliens. I've never, but now we've got military folks saying, yeah, they're underground. They come out, from under the ground, and they're in the oceans, and they're this and that. So I mean, there's obviously a lot of information going on, a lot of like, what do I take in? What do I know? I mean, I don't think for me, it's history like speaks for itself.
The Catholic Church doesn't really wield quite as much influence as it used to. So I don't know that they're still sitting on like
there's
information.
Magic there though. There's a lot of like stuff involved with CERN and ritual magic. So I'm not convinced that they aren't responsible for a lot of what is going on, but I could be misinformed. So
no, but I think we need to kind of understand, right, that all of that is connected. It is not this or that, or
absolutely,
those are more powerful. No, it's an illusion for the peasants, and we are the peasants, right? It's an illusion that there are some sides, that politics, it has sides, you have a choice, democracy, all that kind of nonsense. So whether it's church, whether it's done through the president's government, the state, this, that, or the other, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter because above them there is one hand that's holding everything, giving the illusion that there is some kind of separate sort of influence. No, it isn't. No, it's not a separate influence. They might have a little bit of competition going on, underneath the umbrella, but the umbrella is one, and it's a single umbrella, and it's being sort of handled by one hand.
I heard people think that it's vampires, that it's actual like vampire. Don't laugh, Friar. Come on. I'm serious. I just saw a YouTube video and somebody was like, I think fucking vampires are running this show, and like
might as well be, as messed up as stuff might as well be.
What entity is this? I mean, ancient texts I know were speaking a lot of like the energies of the planets and
hold on,
and stuff like that. And like
that's a really good point, Nikki. If I can step in on behalf of specifically the Sumerian and their Babylonian successors, as far as the deities go. So again, the whole Anunnaki or Archons, this whole idea of there being like this controlling race that either comes down from the heavens or comes up from the earth, depending on who you talk to, it's different. This all goes back to the original Sumerian texts, which were so everything based on that comes from this idea, which again was promoted by Sitchin. If you look at the actual names of the Sumerian gods, which we're told that are somehow aliens or whatever, demons, whatever somebody calls them, they're literally nature personified. Enlil means Lord of the Winds or Lord of the Ether. Ningal, she's another wind goddess. Ninhursag, Queen of the Sacred Mountain. These are just key. She's literally, they're literally just the personification of nature. I don't see that as being in the later stories that come from that, so everything the Assyrians, wrote down, the Babylonians, and if we're being honest here, most of the Hebrew texts are based on the older Mesopotamian myths. So they're all just a retelling of this same theme. Nobody knows where the Greek myths really come from. Like, they can't source those. Like, and the same thing with the Romans. Like, there's definitely some overlap with the Mesopotamian deities. But, and again, I have no expertise when it comes to anything in the Americas or in China, Japan, like those places, Southeast Asia. But when it comes to the original Mesopotamian gods, those stories that they told, which again were really like literal personifications of nature, those were the ones that were bastardized over time, adopted, bastardized, stripped down, rebuilt. Where a lot of this control, this theme of control comes from. But there's like one or two, it's really just one story. It's like it's Enki and who's he with? There's a couple versions, but basically it's just his mother comes to Enki, again, Lord of the Earth, the freshwater aquifers, probably not a real guy, probably not anything, probably a story. And they're like, hey, we need a reason why we had to create humans. And it's really silly. It doesn't make any sense. And you can tell whoever's writing these stories, they're just pigeonholing this plot into clay for us. But basically they're like, well, the gods are tired of doing all the work themselves. We need to create people to do it themselves. And then from there, Sitchin in particular extrapolated that what they're trying to mine was gold. But that's again, poor translations. I've heard people, we had a few people on some months back, they were talking about the gold that the Anunnaki are trying to mine is actually coming from like the aura, that they're really trying to get the light. So there's been all these different interpretations. But again, that story in particular, it's like one story. There's just a couple different versions of it, like with them trying to create people. Is where all of that whole like humans are basically slaves and they're just here to like suck up their life force, their energy, or whatever, where that comes from. And I mean, I'm not saying, I wholeheartedly agree that there's like a concerted effort to control every facet of humanity. But I don't know that we need something else. I think humans are capable of that, just personally. I think if aliens or some, higher life form really wanted to do that, I don't know that they would beat around the bush. I think they just strap us down to something and, start sucking the life out of us. I don't know. I sure don't have all the answers.
I have a question for Ola. Yeah. I'm curious, at what point, like, were you involved in an organization, or were you studying a methodology, or you came across certain books? Like, what was it that kind of clued you into seeing these forces as opposed to us, like all part of the matrix? Like, what was there a book, was there an author, was there a way of thinking? Like, what was it? Usually, people turn a corner for some reason, right?
And are you asking what sort of clued me on that this is not, that this is something more than
like, what did you come across that made you say, oh wow, this is a really huge problem? When did your eyes open to all this? What was it? Was it people? Was it a book? Was it?
Mm-hmm. I don't think it would have been one specific sudden thing. I think it would have been a process over some time where things just didn't make sense. And like I say, the problem is that when people you cannot force someone to see something if they are not seeing that, right? And
Sure.
That was the same for me. At some point, I was looking at certain information, I was looking at certain texts, and I was interpreting them at certain level, thinking,
Sure.
for example, emerald tablets. I think I read that several years ago, and
Okay.
I didn't know what I was reading. And then I read it again years later, and then it was a totally different text. And I think that's going to be the story for a lot of people. So it's almost like it becomes a process. I think that for me, a big, of course, catalyst would have been, in a sense, 2020, where and 2019 with the October event, right, which is pretty much what set the tone for the next year and for the decision. So clearly, things became, I would say, very obvious about an agenda that's playing out here, and like I say, I was before that, I was involved in mythology of where I come from. I was involved in looking into astrology, numerology on sort of all sorts of levels, when it comes to both people, but also the sort of connections between the gods and deities, and what is it, what
Okay.
are they really, of course here in Norway as well, shamanism of the indigenous people up here, and just starting to see how everything sort of fits together. Why in fairy tales, for example, or in legends, there are common themes and they really merge together, for example, with mythology, or why do they merge together with certain interpretations? So for example, here in Norway, right, we have the Norse mythology, and if you go to a museum and want to learn about mythology, they're going to basically tell you the same stuff what Abby just said, which is that these gods, this one was a god of the wind, or it's all personification of nature. And that's just, to me, that's just such a simplification, and not just simplification, but that's when you kind of get led to, because the texts have been tampered with. The texts that we are looking at right now are a watered down version of what it would have been. And even once upon a time, those texts would have been written by specific people, and it would have been based on an order of someone who wanted to show certain aspects or certain version of history. So, oral tradition became very important, and that oral tradition would have been kept and would have been passed down only to certain people, because of course you couldn't just openly talk about all these things. That's where the secret teachings come from. And you were talking about the inner and outer order. Look into the inner order of the Templars and the teachings that they picked up, and the sort of commonalities between their teachings and the Cathars, the true teachings of Cathars, not on Wikipedia.
Right.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned the Emerald Tablet of Hermes Trismegistus. I'd love to know what your interpretation of that is. It's not a very long piece, actually, and they speak about the one thing, right? All this done for the one thing. I'd like to know your interpretation of that. I really would.
I mean, like I say, the key for me has been going down the path of feminine alchemy and these teachings, and that is the missing code to interpretation of a lot of ancient texts, so that you don't interpret them in a sort of direct way. Like you read something and you think that whatever they are talking about is just the literal kind of without any symbology there. So
Okay.
so emerald tablets, as I see that, are instructions on how to die to escape this construct, how to move through the so-called the underworld or the lower world to navigate out of here.
All right.
So that you don't get pulled by the reincarnation machine and you don't get spat back into here.
Okay.
What if you like it here?
Well, then you like it here, but it would be good to know where you are and that you're trapped.
Okay.
Most people have no idea, and you know, this is why, I mean, even Hermes, right, in the Hermetic text, he talks about humans being tossed between heaven and earth indefinitely, and that the consciousness is falling because there is this element of forgetting everything, and of course, I mean, look at the world, right? Most people are on autopilot. Most people have no idea what's going on. Most people are, first of all, very, very much in their mind. They believe in certain things that are not really serving, and they are not true. They follow religions, they follow some weird concepts, spiritual development these days, new age, etc. It's kind of, I don't think there is a lot of people out there who have the understanding of the sort of wider picture, right? I mean, you Friar was talking about Gnosticism, or mentioning some of the Gnostic groups before, and that was one because you Abby, I think you said that everything comes from Sitchin. Well, the Gnostic didn't. So they were obviously.
Hold on. Just my timeline. Are we talking about which Gnostic text are we talking about?
Well, take Pistis Sophia.
What's that? Are we in like Hebrew? Are we in Christian? Which Gnostic texts? Like, where are we at here? Greek? Like, we have Gnosticism from,
I believe that's Christian Gnosticism.
so
It's
Christian,
like early Christian Gnosticism.
Yes,
but
Christian-
my point is here more that because you said that all the Anunnaki and all that kind of concept of them coming here and somebody coming here and taking over the realm, that came from Sitchin and his interpretation and his books, right? That's what you mentioned earlier.
At least in the pop culture sense, but the Christian texts are based on the Hebrew texts, which are based on the Babylonian texts, which are based on the Sumerian texts. So we see right up into to an extent, not completely.
Right. It's not linear because there were influences that kind of came in from the side.
Yes, we're grossly generalizing, absolutely. But at least as far as, I'm not talking about okay, so going back to the Hebrew text, so anything Gnostic that's based on the Hebrew text is also going to, like, it's just by its nature pulls in all of the Mesopotamian mythology, everything, even El Yahweh. That is, Yahweh was a storm god. He was so everything built upon that deity, who took on all of Marduk's traits. That whole system has its roots in Mesopotamia. The tree life, to an extent, has an Assyrian root, so to speak, which probably goes back to the Sumerian trees of knowledge and wisdom that we also see these reoccurring themes. So I'm not saying it's like a word for word, like, no, Sitchin totally pulled, because Sitchin used some of the Gnostic texts to support his theory. But before we go into that, I don't want to forget. So this question is, I would hope, and I Chat with Lorna, the Merry Mystic, also has a question for you. But before we get to that, I'm just curious. This is totally on my end. Have you, a lot of things which I have come to believe, and I don't believe a lot. I mean, I have pretty good ideas about certain things, and I just run with it. So there's very few things that I can truly say that I believe this. But a lot of what I can say that I do believe comes from deep inner work and meditation. I'm curious, have you been able to, does your own inner work, like, have you, through meditations and shamanic journeys or inner alchemy or whatever you want to call it, have you gone to like that source place inside and gotten the same information that your conscious mind has come to this conclusion, like when you're reading these texts and stuff?
I mean, absolutely, because like I say, you can be reading those texts, and this is why academics or a lot of scholars, they've been studying some of these texts for 40 years and they still don't know what they're looking at. There's plenty of people looking at a lot of information out there, whether that's texts, whether that's temples. I mean, you can get all these scientists or scholars into ancient Egypt, and they're looking at those pyramids and they're looking looking at those temples, and they just come up with the most pathetic, embarrassing, infantile interpretations
Sure.
that, you know, so it's, of course there is an element of like, I'm not that interested in someone else's interpretations. I am interested in sort of seeing what am I looking at, right? For example, such as okay, in Egypt, here I am, it's my personal experience with it. But by the same token, you know, there are, I'm not gonna say have I done it like that. Of course I have. But whenever I have my own sort of personal experience, or like you say, has it been through meditation, etc., I like to say that I have been getting a lot of things from my inner wisdom, from whatever is written inside. However, I like to find some kind of confirmation outside. So, because, you know, let's face it, there's a lot of people who claim to be having downloads or channelings, etc. And I'm sorry, but they're just deeply ungrounded. So I think
You don't think it's possible at all? You don't think it's possible?
No, I think, absolutely, I think it's possible, but I think that there are many people that are deeply ungrounded, and that, you know, whatever they claim is not necessarily something that, you know, is.
I agree.
Yeah, Friar will agree, but I have had some pretty intense mediumistic, like, I've seen dead people, I've talked to dead people, and they've never said, oh my God, you gotta fucking escape, you gotta get the fuck out of here. They're never even like, I shouldn't have fucking died this way. Nobody's
How do you know that you were talking to dead people?
Exactly. Exactly. That's why I do astrology.
Yeah, my mom is actually, she's a medium. She works with the FBI and the police. She finds dead people all the time. So in her experiences, I would say, if the dead person's telling you where to find their body parts in, like, you know, on the map of the United States, I would say that's probably a good, you know, way to assess whether or not you're talking to a real dead person. At least some of the time. There's definitely, like Nikki said, there's definitely some not human entities that will pretend to be Old Man Jenkins who fell down the well. Like, no, it's definitely some other entity. Those are definitely out there. But as far as that goes, I would have to concur. I did psychic and medium work for like over 20 years, and not once. And I've talked to suicide victims. I've talked to people who, you know, like, all, you name it. And I've never picked that up. I've never gotten it intuitively. Like, this is, you know, you have to escape. There's something, you know, evil and controlling. There's definitely, I don't think anything, you know, would just.
Who says that when you die, your consciousness suddenly, miraculously expands indefinitely and you see everything? You don't. As far as what we actually seem to have established is that when you die, you are pretty much at the same level.
Oh, I don't think that's true at all.
Well, but that's the thing. That's why would you suddenly expand? Where is that coming from?
Well, I can give you my take, and some of this comes from working with the you know, doing medium work for many years, and also the thousands of people who have near-death experiences, many of them who were total skeptics, scientists, you know, non-believers going into it. But it seems, if we're looking at the overlapping themes, it seems like there is some mechanism that pulls the consciousness back to the source. Now, there does seem to be different levels of interaction with the source, and a lot of the ones, the people who end up coming back, they, you know, the ones who have recommuned and kind of reabsorbed into the light or the love or whatever that is, those people don't, because they do come back, they're not maybe fully integrated. But I can tell you, just from my experience in working with other psychics, and this is not stuff that I expected, because I came to psychic work right out of Catholicism, and I had a program, and if people didn't meet that program, like, I was blown away with the stuff that I was coming up with, and it turns out that it overlapped with what all these other people around the world were saying the same things. But that there's basically, so our essence here, our consciousness, we're just like, we're just the organism of the supreme consciousness. We're just a fractal experience, like a piece of, so if the whole universe is a hologram, and I say this, I don't mean like it really is, but that whole, like in the smallest part of that hologram, you have to have the whole picture, and that's basically what we are. So in doing psychic work and medium work has backed that up, at least in my experience. And then going back to the deep part of the meditation, there have been times in my life in particular where I've totally I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm having a breakdown. I have to get rid of all of my beliefs, forget everything that I thought I knew about everything, and go right back to the source. And every single time I do, I'm always shocked and surprised. Well, not so much shocked and surprised now, but in the beginning, whatever I was expecting, it turns out, like, when you get, at least in my experience, I can't speak for everybody, but at the source of all existence, which is just us, like it's just all us, and it's all supreme love. I feel love in the essence of this supreme love in all aspects of life, in my body, my mind, and my family, and my experiences, my emotions. And I suspect, based on, my meditations and the work that I've done, that's probably, it might not be the truth of it, but I'm probably onto something. And I would say that most people, if not all the people in the experiences I've read, would agree, as far as like not past life, oh, help me, near-death experiences would probably agree with that to some extent. That's why I asked you, like, do your meditations back this up? Because I know for sure, like, if you're looking for the pattern, you can probably, like, we can all find the pattern that we're looking for, right? Whether it's there or not, it doesn't matter. But does your deep inner work, like when you're in communion with whatever the universe is, or the field of consciousness, does it back up that we're in some sort of, control mechanism, and like every, like, does it align with that? I might not be asking it correctly.
Yeah, I get your question, and yes, it absolutely does align with that. And back to, if I may comment on some of the things you said here, the near. I think we need to understand, because we're kind of mixing things here. So as in the construct that people are trapped in, that the Hermetic texts are talking about us reincarnating back into here, unless you know how to get out of here, which is, for example, emerald tablets, but not only, Cathar teachings as well.
Wait, where did the emerald tablets come from? Who discovered them?
No, we just mentioned that before.
I'll Google it. Don't worry. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
In terms of sort of this construct and us reincarnating, as in if you don't know how to get out, then you're gonna come back. That's a local kind of setup with exactly those that came here, organized this space, sort of keep us here. Do I think that that's all there is? Absolutely not. This is the illusion. This is the Maya. This is exactly how they wanted to trick us. Who? Them. So are we just that? No. And there, absolutely, as you say, we are a fractal of something much more supreme. And I don't personify it. I don't sort of say that this is some kind of God or whatever. I just say that this is some kind of bigger love-based intelligence that we are a fractal of, but not at the level of some local gods that people pray to, which is what they do here. And when you talk about NDEs, the near-death experiences, and people claiming that they saw this and that, well, I have actually contact with a lot of people who are, who kind of went a little bit into deciphering, or perhaps digging a little bit deeper into those. And yes, how do you know? Again, like you said, that if you have a pattern that you want to believe, you're gonna find the confirmation for that everywhere. So how do you know that that's a true near-death experience, rather than a hologram being shown to you, rather than the moon reincarnation machine, that's the light pulling you in so that it can spit you back? And the issue that I have is that people who have near-death experiences, they didn't really die, as in they because if they did, well, they did die in that context, but they came back, which means they haven't actually seen the sort of the full or maybe the true story. They saw what they were shown. So how do we know? How do you know that NDEs are not holographic sort of displays for you, where you're being met by your family, by whoever passed over, by angels, or whatever it is that you believe in, and there is this source of light that you are being pulled to, and all that. How do we verify that? How do we know that that's real and not because the whole point is that this is matrix localized experience, as in that's part of the reincarnation machine. That's your experience when you are being pulled to the reincarnation machine. But effectively, NDEs don't get that full experience because they don't die, they come back, right? They don't sort of finish the process.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I gotta say, so it's interesting to me, like, we're all in the main looking for truth, right? And there are details where we may kind of talk past each other or talk about things, the same things, using different terminology. I actually do appreciate the skepticism. I think I am equally skeptical. I think it's important to ask yourself these questions. I think it's a really good observation. Like, the people that report their NDEs did not, in fact, die because they're still alive. I think probably where I may differ is in intent, right? Like, what I'm hearing, and I could be wrong, is that there's a really malicious intent happening in terms of, you know, trapping people and showing them falsities and that sort of thing. And I'm not necessarily sure that it's intentionally malefic, but I can very much see how it could be you buying into your own bullshit, if you want, you know, like how you perceive a thing and you think it's the truth, but it's just a thing you perceived, not necessarily because there was malicious intention, although I think there's room for that in certain cases. But as far as like everything, like, basically, okay, is Maya malefic, right? Is Maya evil? Is it trying to trick you and twirl its evil mustache, or is it just the not truth, right? The thing that is not the ultimate truth, and therefore it's an illusion, not necessarily an evil illusion like the fruits of the devil, but just the not truth that we all perceive. Anyway, that was probably a terrible way of explaining it.
I don't think it was.
No, it was great. Ola, so I think I heard you mention you're on board with the, if I'm reading you right, with the idea that there's something, it's either the moon or something on the moon which traps souls in the cycle of reincarnation. Is that what I heard?
That it is part of the reincarnation machine. So yes, let's call it a technology, or yeah, however we want to call it.
Can I ask how you? Yeah, can I? Because I've heard that before. Can I ask how you came to that, like, assessment or idea?
Yeah, I mean, this is not a particular sort of one thing. Here it is, and I discovered that it's a lot of it comes through alchemy. A lot of it comes from legends. For example, where I come from, we have a legend or a story of a man who, and supposedly, by the way, there are some people that say that maybe that was John Dee from the UK, that he actually, because he did travel to Poland at some point once upon a time. And he did spend some time there, and he was kind of magician, alchemist, into all the esoteric things, right? He was really looking at the time to sort of take his workshop to the next level, if you like. And the legend says that he made a deal with the devil, that he sold his soul to the devil. What does that mean, right? Well, in exchange for those powers, who is the devil? In exchange for those powers, as in, ability to see certain things or foresee, etc., that he sold his soul. And in the legend, he meets a woman. A woman is called Mary. And again, you see, this is the thing. Unless you into alchemy, unless you understand feminine alchemy and all these names, all these symbols you can decipher that. It's yeah, you're just gonna look at the surface level. So he meets a woman whose name is Mary, which is alchemical. The alchemical meaning of Mary is the one who knows the secret of the Grail. Grail as in the womb. These are the alchemical teachings coming in. And she tells him that it's not all lost. It's not all lost yet. That he lost his soul. It's not all lost, because he still can sort of recover that soul. But there's a specific sort of thing that he needs to do, and in order to recover his soul, he needs to travel to the moon. And we're talking, the legend goes back hundreds of years. So this is not a legend from the 60s. This goes back hundreds and hundreds of years, right? Why do you have to go to the moon? Why is there a legend that says that you have to travel to the moon to sort of get your soul back, to recover your soul? Why there? Why?
See, and as an astrologer, I would say it's tapping into your emotion, your emotional patterns, going deep down into yourself. That's what I would say.
Yeah,
moon
but that
being like a reincarnation machine. I've heard this, I've seen this, and I don't know. I mean, I personally don't resonate. It doesn't resonate with me. I think we choose to come here. We choose to be here. We choose to work on these things that we don't like. We don't have a memory because, man, I'll tell you what, if you remembered what it was like to choke the life out of a man and see it go away from his eyes, and you liked it, like, I'm telling you, you're not going to want to live another life like that, because, like, it's about refinement. It's about becoming pure and awesome, like, and going back to God, coming out of God, a brand new God. Like, it's really incredibly mysterious here, because if we knew what the lessons were and if we knew all the answers, we wouldn't learn anything.
But why do you have to learn anything? Because the learning is really a result of the fact, the learning and the development and the purifying and all that is really a result of the fact that all of us since childhood have been traumatized in one way or another, have had conditioning and programming sort of embedded into us, which makes us engage in certain patterns, which is obviously something that astrology can decipher for you. But why? Because once upon a time it wasn't like that. Or why? I feel that there is a lot of glorifying the suffering.
Is one of the oldest methods of divination and spirituality that's ever been recorded. Astrology.
But
people
still,
have been looking at the sky with their feet on the ground the entire time, because their souls are connected to the sky. They're connected to its natural.
But why?
law.
That's the point. Why do you have to suffer? Why do you have to?
It's a perception. It's a complete perception. I mean,
absolutely.
I thought I was suffering. I was like, I need to change my attitude.
But you said that just a minute ago, that we are here to learn lessons and we are here to evolve.
We are. Why? You're never gonna avoid it.
Okay, hold on. I got a slightly good metaphor, I think. If we're God experiencing ourselves, I'm using the term God loosely, okay? The field of consciousness, universal consciousness, whatever. Why wouldn't you want to experience that in as many ways, shapes, and forms as possible? So if you're infinite, I mean, you're really going to branch out and you're going to try in as many ways, shapes, and forms to do that. And to do that, that means you have to position yourself to some extent to kind of, have to suck a little bit. I've been through some horrible shit that I won't even, put out on here. And I can tell you that every one of those horrible things I have grown from, and they have made me a better person, a better mother. And I have no regrets about any of that bad stuff. I'm one of the few people you'll probably meet who's not trying to escape reincarnation. I think that bodies need souls, and you know what, to like animate them. And, somebody's got to, I think we choose, like Nikki said, to come here. And we know going into it how bad it's going to suck. just like when you sit down to watch a movie or you dig into a book, nobody reads a book about how like somebody's awesome life and every single page it's just awesome stuff happening. We on some level want to go through somebody else's experience, even if it's like a, you know, a journey to Mordor or whatever. We want to put ourselves in that because somewhere deep down we want to take those experiences for better or worse. And we if you look at it from like a very selfish standpoint, yes, we're just, you know, here enriching our own consciousness or experience. But if we're looking at it from like we're in like a multiplayer video game, we're putting those experiences out into the field and we're all sharing. We're like the organism of the universe and we just continue to grow and flourish. So I don't necessarily, so all those childhood traumas, which, yeah, we definitely all get them. They're basically just like, you know, this is your default, you know, how you're going to play this video game. This is your little avatar and you're setting yourself up with these certain challenges. I don't know, like I wouldn't want to play a game on easy all the time. I think some people play it on super hard. You know, people come here, they're like, you know, they become paraplegics or whatever. Those people are playing on expert. But I really don't see it as anything negative. And I would, again, I go back to when you strip away all belief and knowledge, because I'm a real fact-based person, I'm very skeptical in a lot of things, but the one thing I can't bullshit my way out of or like talk myself out of is those deep transcendental experiences that you're connecting to source. And I haven't seen any of that negativity as far as the source goes. Chat with Lorna says, the Merry Mystic, I am one of the NDE people, and she said, I think she said it changed her perspective. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that a little bit, Lorna. We can pop that in there too. So I don't know if that makes sense, but when you're asking why, that's the conclusion that I have come to at this point in life. I'm open to changing my mind for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, we are sort of mixing two things here, which is one being what is inside of this matrix and how far does that go? And God, I don't like to use that word because God as a God has been used in a context of this matrix. People don't know that. That is the local God. But as you say that, you know, through your experiences, you have connected to something transcendental and beautiful. And I never deny that. I mean, so do I. And so does probably many other people, but this is not in this realm. This is not where we are. And as in you need to reach out a little bit outside for that. That doesn't change the fact that, well, here we are in a controlled matrix. And back to what you said earlier, that, you know, to me, this whole notion of believing that God needs to experience himself or whatever, and that's why he creates us and we are here to experience all that. Well, what kind of God is that? So I mean, wouldn't one experience of suffering be enough if he wants to experience or feel that? So does it need to be billions?
If God is infinite, that's all negativity, positivity. Infinite is infinite. That means all good.
If God is infinite, then and if God is omnipotent and all the good stuff, then does he not know already without putting us in a position of needing to suffer so that he can experience? Well, there you go. Then what's
how do we know there isn't more than one God? I mean, the Hindus are over there just worshiping a million of them.
No, Hindus are monotheists. They do not. That is a.
Is that a lie? Is that a?
Yes, that's the thing.
Like a generalization that doesn't.
I think we're kind of missing I think we're missing the point here. It doesn't matter if it's one God or not. The point is who is above you that is deciding that that's what it's going to look like for you, and that you need to suffer so that they can experience something that doesn't even make any sense.
No. It does make sense. If you are God, that's what I'm saying. Somebody's not telling you this is what you're going to do. This is the Hindu concept too. It's if you dig down, it's actually a universal concept to some extent, but you not being God, like that's an illusion. That's the matrix, is that you're actually an individual with your own individual experiences. That's the illusion. And that's what, at least in many sects of Shaivism, that's the whole point of like, when you're escaping the matrix or the cycle of reincarnation, liberation comes through understanding that you are God, you are source. There is no separation between me, you, Nikki, Friar, anything.
No,
All of our
I get that,
experiences
but
are universal.
that was not my point. My point is that if God or whatever it is if that's the point, if that's the reason, then it doesn't have to create all these scenarios of suffering, because one should be enough to experience that. And yet this world looks the way it does. And if I am to make a comparison, let's look at a prison, right? How many people get resocialized in prison? How well prisons, which are based on hardship and it's tough, it's trauma, these people even get more trauma in there than to begin with. So
I don't know,
actually,
your prisons look pretty nice in Europe, guys. Your prisons look pretty good.
those kind of conditions of putting a person in conditions of suffering, and because that guarantees growth. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's just a faulty sort of assumption here, and that's, to me, is a typical way of humans reacting to justifying.
So I'm curious then, what's
Right.
the answer? What's the
Wait.
answer? Let's, like, if we just all stopped.
Friar's got a question. Go ahead, Friar.
I think it's good to realize that we have presuppositions, right? I think it's good. Abby had a presupposition, right? It's like, this is the purpose for incarnating, is the experience. That's not the only presupposition that people.
Yeah, I could be totally full of shit,
right?
you guys. I don't know anything about anything.
There's the idea that we become individual, separated from God units in order strictly to return, to have the experience of the return. That's probably one of the most profound things that I ever heard our crazy Uncle Al say, right? For I am divided for love's sake, for the chance of reunion. That's very romantic. It's very nice.
That's fun.
But I think it's okay to state presuppositions of that kind, as long as we're aware that they are presuppositions and maybe not the truth, but so I just try to be careful and recognize, because it's really easy to be like, I know the truth and I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to start a YouTube channel and a TikTok and I'm going to tell you all the truth.
Get those clicks though.
Yeah, get them clicks and some clickbaits and some red circles and red arrows, but
Red arrows,
it is
got
important.
the arrow on the last one.
It's like, I try to situate myself all the time. Like, what are my presuppositions? What is this system that I'm interested in? And it has presuppositions. It has these things in it. And I keep an eye on them, realizing that there may not be the truth, but they're simply, at best, a way to situate myself in some sort of meta model. And at worst, and it's not impossible that it's some sort of weird delusion. So, when we're talking about the purpose of existence, and that's not a small thing.
Well, that's pretty heavy. Yeah, I don't know the purpose of existence. Like, I bitch at God every day. Everyone's like, please don't talk to your guides like that. Like, I used to go to all these like spiritual retreats. Like, you can't talk to your guides. Like, I'll talk to whoever the fuck I want, however I want, and they know me. So Abby's laughing because she knows them too.
So here we are.
But I mean, I totally get that. So,
and Olna is bringing her presuppositions to the table, and Abby is too, and I have to some extent. And I think that is terribly interesting, but I tend to distance myself from it a little bit, just for the sake of being open-minded, let's just say, right? And just realizing that we're all bringing certain presuppositions to the table, and it's good to keep an eye on them.
Oh my God, Ola, you're asking really great questions, because these are all questions I've I'm always like, why? Well, why then? Well, why? Like, I'm like that. I'm like, well, why am I here? Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to get up every day and go to work? Like, why did my heating pad break? My most favorite freaking thing this week broke. Like, I ask myself that kind of stuff all the time. And it's really about just surrendering to not knowing. I mean, because I want to know everything. Trust me, I want to get down to the bottom of it. Like, I even went and did like that hypnosis stuff so I could go find God, grab him by his shirt and punch him in his fucking face. That's how mad I was at God. Like, I paid somebody to hypnotize me, for Christ's sakes. like, I know I sound delusional, and you're probably like, wow, this chick just needs to
No.
like checked off, like,
You're just being
psycho.
honest.
But I'm being honest. I'm being honest about like my own questions and my own like beliefs, because I too was like, I'm fucking trapped here. I'm trapped in this sick body. I'm trapped with this life that I created that I can't seem to escape from. You know, so I mean, you're asking all these like pretty normal questions based around pretty normal human experiences. And, you know, if you looked at it from a like that perception of being trapped and, you know, being controlled, it's, you know, then that's all you're going to see. You're not going to see the beauty in it. But I mean, I've had experiences that you obviously have not had, and same,
Yeah, we could all say
likewise,
that. Yeah.
you know,
Everybody's
I mean,
experience is different.
it's so different. It's so
Yeah.
different.
And
So
what-
I mean, I totally
So
respect it, you know, like I totally respect it. And
See,
yeah,
what I'm
I
interested
think
in,
it's good to ask these questions.
in particular, what I'm interested in is because there are multiple meta models, right? There's different things that people are attracted to. I'm really interested in why. Like, why did I pick Golden Dawn? Why did Abby pick Kashmiri Shaivism? Which, you know, I probably got that wrong, but you know,
You got it right. You got
okay.
it right.
Or why is Abby so interested in looking back in history and trying to find like primary sources, the primariest of primary sources? It to me, those are interesting things, but what's more interesting is why you as a person find this particular meta model to be so compelling, one among others. And I guess Moses has just
Is that what that was? I'm like, what is that noise? Is somebody
It's a
underwater?
break for Tan.
No, my God, I'm so sorry. I just thought I could grab my coffee quick and
Oh, that was
Oh,
funny. Did
God.
Nikki go scuba diving?
just
Yes.
permanent in the live stream forever.
Yeah. Hey, I gotta say this. So Ola, I just want you to know, okay, and this is 100% a compliment. Okay, we've had some very boring conversations on this live stream before, where I have struggled to just be a person, like just be awake and make words come out of my mouth. And like, this has been so much fun. Like, I totally enjoyed, like, I love talking to you. Yeah, so I don't want you to think like I'm asking questions because I'm on Friar's side. Like, I want to know, like, what, you know, how did you get to like, you know, this point or whatever? Because
and I totally, you know, I'm really grateful for that. You know, my background, I mean, I don't identify myself as an engineer, but that's my training. And
Sure.
It comes from the fact that I'm interested in how stuff works. And, you know, I like to get down to things, and I will be asking uncomfortable questions, and I will be digging. And, you know, I probably think in a very kind of opposite way. So whatever someone says, I like to go and look, okay, let's have a look all the way to the other side of the spectrum. Let's sort of test it. So I, you know, I like to question everything, including, you know, and mind you, we all had all sorts of experiences. I'm not saying that side doesn't exist. If that side didn't exist, I wouldn't even live here, because this is the bloody end of the world. So, you know, you don't want to be here until you connect, unless you are connected to something more. And certainly it's, this, you know, moving to this place has not just shown me certain things. I mean, I was open to certain things before, but here the veil is so thin that, you know, it's your daily kind of life. So absolutely. And I'm not talking about some kind of meditations or something. I'm just talking about literally a real experience here. But, you know, it got me to a place. I think mostly the new age, the whole new age, and instead of people being totally misguided, it made me question everything. It made me question literally, you know, how do you know? How do you know? What are you really connecting to, or where are you really getting information? For example, you mentioned hypnosis, right? That you sort of went and got hypnotized to get answers. How do you know where you got your answers from? How do you know it's legit? How do you know it was not some kind of projection of your maybe subconscious, or you know what I mean, right?
Well,
Like,
here's the deal. Like, I'm gonna take up too much. I'm just gonna take up too much time talking about myself. But I've had too many experiences, too many past life connections come up. Too many times I've met somebody and I know who they are. I know why they're here. I know exactly what's going on in their lives. I know why they chose to be here. There's things that aren't going to be explained. There's just things that aren't going to, that are going to consistently be mysterious. So what makes me so special to know these things about these people? It makes them very uncomfortable. I've had people just basically like blow me off, like, oh my God, like don't even look at me. You know, so I mean, I've had some pretty strange experiences that deal with past lives, that deal with this human experience. So I mean, how do you can't really explain these things away. You can say, oh, it's, and for a long time I'm telling you, I thought it was schizophrenic, I thought it was mental illness, until I met other people who were doing the exact same thing. All the stuff I came up with was absolutely true because I came up with it. You know, these are my readings, but it was, and everything always came out absolutely true and right. So, and I've tested it, and that I've been in that testing stage for a very, very long time. And there's just some things that I'm convinced that you are not going to get an answer from. You're just not going to find it. Like, and even if you knew the answer, even if everybody was like, you were like, oh my God, guess what? I fucking connected to the divine, fucking outside the mage. Like, nobody would even believe you. Nobody would even believe you because like the concept of God and the concept of all of this is so immense and so big, and it means so many different things to so many different souls and different people. It's incredibly like amazing to be alive. You know, it's an incredible, I think, blessing to be in a body, to have a face, to be able to, you know, fucking eat chocolate and have sex and listen to good music. You know, well, to me, that's a blessing.
I think I think the love aspect of it should not be overlooked. I really do think that we're here to love each other and just help each other and just grow and just feel love, you know, and from a slightly limited perception, because I think it changes it, you know, again, if
and that I absolutely agree with, but that has nothing to do with suffering. And that's so yeah.
That's a question that's not easily answered. There are many books about the nature of
they've been trying for thousands of years to understand, like, why is there suffering? Yes. Now
I'll tell you this. I absolutely can tell you that I can walk a client right to the witness consciousness. Absolutely. I've done it many times. And the only question is, because it's a realization, right? It's not, it's ephemeral, so it's hard to put words to, but basically there's a moment when you realize that you're the witness consciousness, and you can walk a person right on up to it, but until they take that on, it may or may not take, and it may or may not take for a very long time. But to Nikki's point, there absolutely is a method to find and experience the witness consciousness. Absolutely. I've done it multiple times, but again, it's a realization. Not everyone turns that corner. Like they might understand it in sort of academic or from the mind standpoint, but until you experience it, and I can't press that button. I can't like make you have the realization, but I can get you right there and you can pick it up or not.
Well, I think what Ola's saying, if I'm not putting words in your mouth, is how do you know that's really the witness consciousness? How do you know that's just not another, like, just here?
I've had those same, dude. Ola, I've had those same questions, especially about like the mediumship stuff, like stuff that I like. Is it a matrix thing? Is it like, is this fake? Is this real? Like, I've totally asked that over and over.
A lot of these things are not so much as in, you know, black and white. Is this even real or not? For me, it's more about what is the true explanation there? So for example, if we, like you mentioned before, the past lives, right? That no, you have an absolute evidence, this is a past life because you've got evidence, you've maybe come across certain information, the other person confirmed, so that is the absolute evidence and proof that past lives exist. I'm not saying, by the way, that they don't. I'm just using my sort of engineering hat here. And I'm just using that as an example. So how do we know beyond any doubt that that is a proof that past lives are a real thing, rather than we are planted with an implant, let's say, that gives us some kind of memories which are not true, but it's like, being planted with some kind of memory, some kind of past that's not necessarily true. But we think that, oh, that's a past life, right? Then we had to have all these past lives, because there's a lot of people who, for example, when you guide them through some kind of meditation or hypnosis or whatever into past life, right? There's always a good story there. Where are the bad stories? Where are the where is?
Oh, I don't have good past life stories.
Some of them are boring.
I mean, it's either like, I killed someone, I killed something, or it's, I was the queen, I was the king. Where is the one that I was boring, I was sitting there doing
there
nothing?
for sure. I promise
they're totally there.
Most of them are. If you do past life regressions with people, most of them are like, I'm just farming. It's really boring.
Yeah.
But still, that's okay. That's fine. But still, how does that tell? How is that the proof that past lives are real, rather than
it's not
maybe just?
Oh, it's not. It's not. I mean, I just only have a whole lifetime of people who could back it up.
Yeah, we can.
But they could be programmed too. You're absolutely right. I mean, how do we know we're not plugged into machines somewhere, or we're not being, we're not in some cosmic game of Barbie and somebody's holding us and telling us this is what we're doing? We don't really know. I mean, we don't really know.
Possibilities.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah, they are. It is. It could be a very controlled environment.
Back to the very. Exactly. So that's pretty much, now we have run the whole circle to come back to the beginning of this conversation, which is we are in a controlled environment. We are, our lives are preconditioned in some way. So where is the choice? Where is me deciding about my experience? Then that doesn't make sense. It shouldn't happen then. So it is conditioned and it is controlled by whom?
But that precludes that version of reality being the correct one. But if we don't know past lives are real, we don't know that any more than we know that we're not, somebody put a chip inside of us and we're just, like robots somewhere and hallucinating the whole thing. That's the thing. Like if, and I would imagine Fryer would agree with me, but if we can't know for sure one truth, then we can't know any truth. And that's, the crux of science and metaphysics and philosophy.
Absolutely. We don't know 100% nothing, right? I mean, nothing, we cannot prove or disprove 100%. But I like to ask questions when things don't make sense, when things are, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So how do you escape the matrix then? I mean, I want to know, how do you get out? You just, when you die, you don't go to the moon, or you just don't go to the light, or what? Like,
these are the teachings of the feminine line. These are the alchemical teachings, for example, right? I mean, this is, by the way, feminine alchemy is not some kind of concept or philosophy to follow. This is going back to our original wisdom of the women. This is the wisdom for which Cathars were killed, amongst others, and the witches were burnt at the stake. This is what's in my view, in my interpretation of the text, has been, for example, described in emerald tablets. So that's what Fryer was asking earlier about, maybe an hour ago. It's a little bit probably complicated to kind of in one sentence capture that, but it is not based on intention. This is based on, Mary Magdalene says that if you don't resurrect in life when you are still alive, after death It's too late. It's not going to happen. So what is a true resurrection, right? And when you look into these teachings, these alchemical feminine line teachings, which are reflected in legends, fairy tales, etc., the native traditions and mythology, for example, the sort of the way or how to do it is you have to escape the programming of this matrix. You have to see it for what it is. You have to really disconnect on the mind, because they connect to the mind, as in they want us to be controlled. They want us to be in traumas. They want us to be in all these kind of lower emotions all the time. That there is a very direct link between that and our DNA. The fact that most of our DNA is inactive. So what is sitting in the part that is active? What is going on over there? It is to do with the full capacity of our system, especially as women, the hormonal system, which we do not have access to. It's only a little bit that we are actually using. A lot of it is externally controlled, and a lot of it is just switched off. So the mystery schools of the old days, or the teachings of the sort of Mary Magdalene, Isis, yeah, but again, it is for those with the eyes to see, to kind of, like, probably if you're a scholar and you're looking at it, you're not gonna be able to see the forest through the trees. It's just gonna be okay. I'm reading the letters of a word. One, as the Cathars were talking about, either when you die, you actually don't go to the light, you go the other way, so you go down. That's what emerald tablets, it's the underworld. The other way is through the sun, through the portal of the sun. But again, this is not a question of intention. This is not a question of sort of decision and a choice. When you die, it is a question of what is it that you are embodying. Have you pulled your soul together? As in, we experience fragmentation of the soul. Has that been, as in a lot of indigenous people talk about the soul literally having that kind of crystal-like construct, which is something that you can shatter. It's a little bit like water. So the soul needs to kind of come back together. Implosion. So there are certain, I'm not talking processes, procedures, as in you need to follow some rituals or something like that. No, but there is an element of certainly doing that kind of work, as in all the traumas, etc. Not therapy, but it's literally it is working on that soul level, deprogramming, seeing those programs, seeing this for what it is, and then when you die, you basically represent your energy shifts, right? If you do those things, your energy will shift. Your energy becomes different, so that you are not sort of swallowed by the reincarnation machine, but you have the ability to move somewhere else, move differently.
Friar, you have a comment, or
I do.
Yeah.
So what Ola is describing is what I like to call the scenic route, right? Because these are stories and ideas and frameworks and ways of thinking in order to get you taking a fairly long, circuitous route that I think most people maybe actually need.
You're into that, yeah.
Yeah, but it's I'm into it because that was part of what I needed to make the leap to the witness consciousness, right? I liked having the implements and the magic and the rituals and the walking around and saying funny words, and but that did its job, which was to get God realization in the Western mind, right? But fortunately, see, this is a product of modern technology. I have access to Advaita Vedanta, which is saying much the same things, only in a far more simple way. And once I got a hold of that, I was like, oh, this is the same thing, just not nearly as florid, far fewer tools and methodologies needed. And it is quite simple. If you can observe the outside world, you are not the outside world. You are the observer of the outside world. That's easy. Oh, I can observe my body too. Therefore, I'm not the body. I'm the observer of the body. The true me is the observer. I can observe my thoughts. I am not my thoughts. I am the observer of my thoughts. I can observe my emotions. I am not my emotions. I am the observer of the emotions. I can observe my will and desires. Therefore, I am the observer and not the will and the desires. And what you're left with is that pure observer consciousness. That's the realization, is that you can strip everything away. And what you're left with at the core of your being is the witness of all these things. And that's the witness consciousness. Pretty straightforward. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, definitely.
So there you go.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you. That was actually a really good place to wrap it up. Ola, we had so much fun talking to you. Like, it's been super fun.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back sometime and go even
my
deeper if you're up for it, for sure.
I know. I love someone that challenges authority in every way, shape, and form. Are you kidding me? I love it. You should always be challenging it and asking questions. So this has been amazing. So yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks,
usually results in hate, not so much in love.
What will? Questions?
Yes, questioning authority.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we should be though. The sun is conjunct Pluto. There should be a lot of that going on.
I'm born with that.
Yeah. Oh hell yeah! There you go. See.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah,
absolutely. It was so great having you again. Thanks to everybody out there. We didn't actually get to any questions because we were deep in conversation, but we did pop them up I try to keep track of them and pop them up here like that every chance that we got. So thanks again to everybody out there. Mermaids Wear Hats. I'll chat with Lorna, just to name a few. I think I saw Layla, Double J, and a few others. So thanks again, Roxanne. Thank you, Ola. We again, we are so very grateful, and take care of there. Is it super cold where you're at?
Well, it's not tropical at the moment.
Okay.
It's probably it's probably not as bad as you might think it is, because it doesn't get that bad. It's probably right now -5, -6. So
Celsius,
it's
right?
doable. Yeah, Celsius. Yeah, we do Celsius. So I don't know how you translate that to Fahrenheit, but
not very cold. It's like in the low 20s Fahrenheit, you guys. It's pretty balmy. It's a balmy winter day over there.
So it's snow down there. It's a winter wonderland.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, Taksimike.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. So anybody out there, look, we have Ola's information in the video description, I'm sure, because a bunch of people in the chat were like, oh, we're so excited to see her.
Yeah.
So they probably already know where to find you. But if anybody wants that information, it's definitely in the video description. And we're going to let you go. Thanks again. And thanks to everybody out there.
Thank you so
much. You guys have a great week and stuff.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.